we'll get started here and I'll let people in as they go. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Hillary Haynes with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber. So happy to see so many familiar faces. We had just over 50 RSVPs for this, so I know people will still be trickling in. But before I introduce today's speakers, I want to go over some Zoom etiquette just to make this next hour run smoothly. First, if you are not speaking, I ask that everyone go on mute. This will help eliminate any background noises. And then if you have any questions or comments, please either use the Zoom hand emoji to raise your hand, and this can be found on the participant panel next to your name, or you can type that you have a question to ask, and we'll call on you and you can unmute yourself and ask. We want this to be a fun, interactive session since we can't be in person today. But I will go ahead and introduce our speakers for those who don't know these two powerhouses. Bob Meadows has been the Business Development Director for the City of Shafter since 2018. It's been a couple years already. After nearly spending 40 years in the banking industry. As a banker, Bob had extensive experience at multiple financial institutions with achievements in branch management, commercial real estate and business lending, leadership training, business development, and state advisory councils. Bob is also a volunteer extraordinaire as he serves on various community boards. And in 2018, Bob won the Beautiful Bakersfield Award for Business Person of the Year. Norma Dunn is the Deputy Director at Mission Community Services Corporation's Women's Business Center in Bakersfield. Norma's passion for education and business, combined with her engaging personality, has earned her a reputation as a high-impact networker. This community leader has accomplished planning and executing strategies that are both efficient and effective. In addition, she has assisted private, public, and nonprofit organizations with forging successful partnerships. So Norma, you can take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Hillary, for that introduction. And I'm super excited to be here presenting with Bob. Bob and I have been working together for years, so we're really, really excited to do this. So we're going to be talking about networking, and the topic is It Takes Two to Network. And this is going to be a really interactive type of presentation. Bob and I will be presenting the different slides, but we're also going to ask if you wanted to engage or have any questions, feel free to ask those questions. This will be for individuals who need a little bit more education on the networking. We're also going to share our tips and tricks and to be an effective networker. Okay, so without further ado, we'll get this started. So the things that we're going to cover, again, what is networking? When and how do you network? And what are some of the benefits of networking? And also, how does effective networking affect your business or your personal networking efforts? And we'd like to talk about networking not only from a business perspective. In my in past employment, it's career networking. It's whether you're a business, you're a nonprofit, you're always networking. And Bob and I will tell you 24/7, you're always networking. So again, what does that look like for you? So we're going to go over those types of things. So take it away, Bob.
Well, and thank you, Norma. And it's great to be here. And for those of you, I want to encourage some of you that you mute your microphone, but keep your screen open. And I would just tell you, this is a networking exercise, okay? It starts right now. So I want you all to take a look at who's on the screen. Who would you like to talk to? Who would you like to follow up with? You have, we're not in the same room, but we're on the same screen. So look at a name, say, I want to know that person. I want to reach out to them, okay? Because, and we're not asking. We want you to do that. So keep an eye out for each other, and then so we'll get started. As far for me, but you know that I believe this: networking is cultivating personal relationships by connecting on a personal level. Cultivating and connecting. The cultivating really how you grow and nurture and keep up with those. I think that's so important in the relationships that we build. And connecting. on a personal level, we find ways, especially in Kern County, this is a one-on-one place, right? We all know that, and that's where the strength comes from. Even now, even in 2020, we are all still doing business. We have to keep at it. And so we connect however we can. And so cultivating personal relationships, professional relationships, by connecting on a personal level, please, if you adopt that, I guarantee you, you'll be more successful. And that really is what networking comes about to. Okay, Norma? So how do we cultivate? These are the various areas that we do. And I used to have person to person up there, face to face, and this is about as face to face as it looks like we're going to get, except for those of us brave souls that go out into the world like we did today with Allison and others that I've met with. But certainly Zoom, we do a lot of Zoom team calls. You got to maximize those. Just as I've told you today, look for the faces, look for people that you want to connect with. Telephone, so critical. Your phone skills really need to be good. And you've got to use that phone. You've got to set aside time and keep up with people. I will tell you, I spend time each week, and those of you that heard me talk about this, just simply dedicated to reaching out to people by the phone, by social media, by email, as we show here, by texting if we have each other's numbers, even regular mail, but sometimes we can't wait for those to get there, right? But this is how we cultivate these relationships. And you're going to be able to do that. You're doing that right now, and you're going to get a chance to do it again later. The telephone, social media, your social media presence. Many of you know I use LinkedIn a lot, send out some messages. I try not to be the spam king. I try to keep it quality and make those connections. But social media and with videos and things, you can really make a difference. Certainly emails, make those quality emails, stay in contact. You can fire off 100 emails in 30 minutes just to keep in touch with people, right? So texting as you know people, and then of course, regular mail, as I said.
Mm-hmm. And I just want to, and Bob and I will be jumping in on here, and just to kind of share a little bit as the Zoom techniques. Again, when this first started, you had to get used to Zoom, and when you're networking and who's in the room, you know, what's going on. And like Bob said, that's the first thing I do when I get into a meeting is I see who's in the meeting, who's in Zoom, who's the name of the individual, you know, the name of the business. But also just a really quick tip here, because this presentation will have some little tips and tricks in there. In Zoom, when you're in a networking meeting, and I shared this with Hillary the last time we were meeting, is if you on your desktop, you have the little sticky notes that you can put on your desktop. Put your business information, your contact information, your name, your website, your email, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it is that people are going to reach you in some way or another. Put it on that sticky note. And when you get into a Zoom call, all you do is copy and paste it into the chat in your Zoom. So that is your business card, right? Or like what Bob has, he has a background with the city of Shafter, and like Hillary does with the chamber. You can create your own backgrounds either in Canva or in PowerPoint, so that you can actually put those in your background of your Zoom, and therefore that's your calling card, right? Your business card. So again, I use the stickies all the time, and I just copy and paste that from my sticky on my desktop, put it in the chat. I'm not having to type anything in there. It's just copy and paste, really quick and easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well said. So who can you connect with now? Well, there's really, and we did, those of you that were with us on April 30th, it seems so long ago, a little over 6 months, we did networking CPR, and those CPR, that still applies here. Clients, these are the people that you already do business with. Prospects, these are the people that you want to do business with. And referral sources, you get business from these people. There's really 3 categories that you have, the folks that you know, and these are the ones that you want to make contact with. Your clients, you've got to maintain those relationships, because if you don't take care of them, someone else will. We all know that, especially now when we really can't have that very close relationship that many of us have had. The prospects, these are the people that you want to do business with, and you don't need to do many cold calls anymore. I think that's so yesterday. We know people, and we can do a lot of due diligence and figure out stuff about people. And we know people who know other people, so we want to do that. But these are folks that you want to do business with. And the referral sources, those that send you business, my gosh, in 2020, you want to take care of them above any other time, really, right? Because they're still providing your lifeline, and maybe they're going to lead you to new ones and do new business, because we've got to keep the old business, but we've lost some of that in many cases. And so we've got to do the new ones. So those are who you can connect with now.
Right.
Norma.
And just to add to that, Bob, I know that when we're in meetings, and sometimes you're in a meeting on a Zoom call, I've been in meetings where there's 150, 170 people on in this meeting, right? So you're looking at, who's on there, and every now and then someone will send a private message, to you saying, hey, listen, I want to connect with you. What is your contact information, or how can I, work with you? So be attentive to the chat, because sometimes the chat isn't just all the questions or people, in the chat talking about what's going on in the event. It could be somebody trying to connect with you privately so that they can reach out to you, or you can reach out to them so you can do business. So again, when you're looking at the chat, keep an eye on that as well, because 9 out of 10 times that person wants to connect with you. And I know in my experience, it's always been something that I connect and what I do. And it's up to you on how you can do that. I know Zoom will let you save the chat. So if you save the chat, then you can always go back. It's like taking notes. You don't have to physically take notes. You can save the chat and you can go back and get that message. Or what I do is I copy and paste it and I Skype it to my assistant. I said, they want to set an appointment. Can you set up an appointment with them? And then all of a sudden the appointment's already being made and I'm still in the meeting. So, how are you going to be using that effectively as you're networking? So it's top of mind and you don't want to miss that opportunity, is how you use Zoom. And that's what, we've been able to do.
Yeah, if I were just on this call, I would have already gone up in that right corner, clicked those 3 little dots and taken a close up of some of you. So I haven't seen you in a while. And then I would be looking at who I was going to be calling tomorrow. So,
exactly.
so how do we connect? By finding common bonds. We share our stories with each other. You've heard me say that before. And certainly we each have stories, and that's how we connect on that personal basis, right? So next slide.
Okay. Guess
what? We're going to connect. You ready? Now, this would be something where you never hear this. Take out your phone, or unless you're on the phone with us, all right? There has got to be someone in the last few days that you've meant to get back to, a prospect, a client, a prospect, a referral source, okay? So let's try to keep this on a business level. We're going to give you just a couple of minutes. We're not going to hum the Jeopardy tune, although I'm really good at it, but we're going to, we want you to look up and say, hey, I need to contact Bob. I need to contact Norma. Hillary called me yesterday and got back to her. I want you to take just a couple minutes right now. I want you to reach out very briefly to any of those people. And this is what we're just talking about. This is how we're going to network right here and right now. Reach out to them and just say, hey, I meant to get back to you. When are you available tomorrow? Or are you available later today? Or I was forced to take this networking class and now I got to do this exercise and call you. Whatever it is, but reach out to someone, okay, and send them something right now. And we're going to be doing some follow-up. Mm-hmm. So I will tell you, in the last couple of years, I've instituted this, and every time we do something, and don't let me down, there's 50 plus, somebody has to get a response by the end of the day, because we will be checking. So anyway, that's why we kind of do these kind of things. I want to encourage you guys, networking is not hard in itself. You just got to do it. You just got to put in the time and the effort, and you devote some specific energy and time block building these relationships. And we're going to talk about why in a little bit, but just really important that you do that. So anyway, so I know you all each have sent at least one, maybe send another. We can't really tell if you're paying attention anyway. We're trusting you. So we're going to pick back up. Norma, I think you're on the next slide.
Yeah. So yeah, you've got some homework there. So that's great. Impromptu networking, right? Okay. Yes. So I'm going to go over a little bit about networking and branding for those of you that are on here and thinking, okay, what does that mean? How does that work? And so we're gonna go ahead and talk about that. So what is your 60-second branding or professional story? I mean, like Bob mentioned, it's a story. There's individuals say, here's my business card, and they have this elevator pitch. But what you need to know is what can you tell me as a person that's in this networking meeting about yourself or your business in 60 seconds that's going to catch my attention? Okay, you've got, less than 60 seconds sometimes to catch someone's attention. And I always share with individuals, if it's you just handing a card, here's my information, this is what I do, so forth and so on. a basic elevator pitch. But the way Bob and I work is we're in this to build relationships. We're in this to work with people and to create a different communication networking style with these people, because we're in this for the long haul. And as you probably already know, Bob and I have had networking relationships years on years on years. It's not just at this event and I never see you again. So this is what we're trying to get you to understand is it's about building relationships. And so again, you always have heard the elevator pitch, right? This is your elevator pitch. And now all of a sudden you're in there with someone you want to talk to and you're like, help, what am I going to need to do? How is that going to work? So we're going to give you some tools to help you with that. Now, what I like to do is do a personal SWOT analysis. So again, as an individual, what are your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities? And I put on here your threats as well. What is the strong, like for me, I'm a people person. I know Bob's a people person. I could talk to people and off the fly and really just kind of tell them who I am, what we do, and so forth. And Bob's the same way. And there's some people that it takes a little bit more work. So when you assess what your strengths and your weaknesses are, and maybe you do some professional development, whether it's joining Toastmasters, whether it's working, volunteering to speak on behalf of an organization or something or another that's going to build that strength or that weakness for you, so that you're I always say I'm a work in progress, but we are lifelong learners, right? And if you're a networker, and Bob and I will attest to this, we're lifelong learners. We're learning every single day. So when we already do an analysis on what our strengths are, and then we focus on those strengths, but we also work on the weaknesses and then the opportunities. You have an opportunity during this networking event to network, not only with Bob, myself, or anyone else on this Zoom call, but sometimes you're going to create your own opportunities by networking. So again, and the reason I want to share that is because sometimes you'll be networking and all of a sudden an opportunity presents itself, but it wouldn't have presented itself if you hadn't have been networking. So we want you to, to keep that in mind, that it is, as Bob mentioned, work, and that he always emphasized, that's why it says networking, because it is work. So, we want you to put your best foot forward. And by knowing this, it helps you understand where you're at and where you want to go, and then how you're going to get there. So the networking principles. So again, define your overall aspirations, be specific and clearly define the goals and objectives. Where do you want to be? And you have to really think about this very strategically. If this is career or in business, how much business have you set? I want to make $100,000 by the end of the year. Okay, how are you going to get there? And who do you need to network to make that happen? Conduct your research. How are those who have made it to where you want to be conducting their personal networking efforts? Okay, so again, you're watching other people. If you have mentors, and that's a fantastic way to start as well. What did they do to get to where they are? Determine your personal attributes. What do you want your personal branding story to convey? What do you want people to, when they hear your name, what do you want them to think about? What is it that you're going to be presenting? Again, with Bob, when somebody says Bob Meadows, they're thinking City of Shafter. Right? And that Bob is the business development director for City of Shafter. So again, you need to really think about what is that going to mean to you? And continuing this, you need to assess your current state. So how do people currently perceive you? I mean, what are they looking at? Are you shy? Do you like to talk? Are you a conversationalist, or do you just take over the conversation? What does that look like? So, and there's those pros and cons, and you need to learn how to mitigate those things, and what's going to happen when it's your target audience. Instead of, for us, again, we're speaking on Zoom, you're our target audience, we're speaking to you. But if you're one-on-one, that one person is your target audience. Who are they, and what is it that you're trying to do? So create your game plan. Your game plan should include more than just networking on social media. It needs to include all aspects of you. And people will always say, yes, I'm on Facebook. Oh, I'm on Instagram. Oh, and that's fantastic. That is really fantastic that you have a presence on there. But as you and I both know, it takes a lot of work to manage a social media branding and on whether it's for your business or yourself, you're an influencer, it does take some time. So either you're going to have somebody do that for you, or you're going to take some time out of your day to manage that yourself. So again, that takes us to managing your brand. Are you proactively managing all aspects of your networking efforts? So not just this Zoom, but maybe a meeting you have in an hour. Maybe that's something you have going on in the evening. What does that look like? And then ensuring that these aspects are in sync and they continue to reinforce your business objectives and your market niche. So again, you have to be very, very strategic. And I always show this example is that, and I would talk about this when I would teach, is that I had a classroom, if their career was going to be a doctor and they needed to network with individuals in a doctor's office and so forth, then they wouldn't be networking, and I'm not saying, to volunteer for the SPCA because they don't have anything in common. But if you're working toward your goal, you need to really focus on your networking to where you see yourself going. It's great to have all that and that's your love, that's fantastic. But if you're going to be networking successfully, you need to have your game plan in place. So Bob and I are really good about networking. We'll always find a place to go.
I would.
Sorry, go ahead.
I would just say, I'm looking at these faces, and so their brands. You have a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Each little person in the square. And you need to know what it was. And it took me a long time for someone had to tell me. And many times we have to be told not only what we're good at, but what we represent to others. And that may not be what you want to represent. So I think you need to take a good look at yourself. And I look at some of the folks here and I see ones like Anupa, consummate professional.
Mm-hmm.
I see the two young bankers from Mission Bank, Alyssa and Juana. I know they're quiet, but resourceful. I see the ladies from Julie from 88KC, and I know Christina was even nominated for business person, right? So Ian, up and coming youngster. There's just a lot of great folks here, and in my mind, that's my brand of you. Is that the brand you want? You want to be positive. Ashley and Amanda helping fight Alzheimer's too, right? I mean, there's a brand there. Be aware of that, as Norma was just detailing. And you can manage that, but you want to manage it genuinely. You got to be you, and you've got to back that up too, because as you know, in Kern County, we see through the frauds. And if somebody's faking it, it'll show. So even Amy there, who didn't know much about art, but knows about how to organize a group, and I know her for so long. See, there's a very positive feeling about all of you. So you need to be aware of that as you're looking at folks like that. What do I look like to others? Be aware of that, build it genuinely as she's describing here. So back to you, Norma.
Thank you. So again, it's really key. And just as Bob said, you are your brand. You're the walking and talking brand of who you are and what you represent. And this is not just only when you're in a Zoom meeting. This is when you're out and about and you're out, at the grocery store, and these are the things that, we have to remember. So where do you network? We talk about these different things. Now, of course, since we don't do a lot of in-person networking, a lot of it stuff is on Zoom. So again, the goals. What are your goals? Which networking events will get you closer to your goals? Are you looking to promote your business? Or again, if you're an influencer yourself and your brand, what target market are you strategically targeting? I talk about this over and over again because you have to work your goal. You're going to have to take those steps. It's not something you're going to go from A to Z. You're going to go through the measures to get to where you want to be. So a lot of these, the different things I put in here, like for, if you want to, your target market is women, just businesses, nonprofits, social groups. I added government contracting and meet and greets only because those individuals who are small businesses that want to get into government contracting, that's where you need to be. So this is the thing that we want to share with you. And there's many more. So whatever you feel that is going to help you get to what you want to do with your business and your goal, that's where you need to place yourself and put yourself in that environment. Again, examples of networking opportunities. I always talk about virtual expos, business networking groups. I was invited to a local business networking group, BNI. Out of that, it was just a meet and greet. I think I ended up having 3 meetings out of that. And so it wasn't, I was just invited. So I was like, okay, I'll go. But again, it's who you are, what you do, talk about what it is that you do and what's important to you. And then again, you'll be able to do, to meet other people that are in that group. Local nonprofit organizations, of course, the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce, American Society of Safety Professionals, the Human Resource Management, and of course, the National Association of Women Business Owners, which is NAWBO. Again, depending on what it is that you're looking for and what you do, you really need to be very strategic in what organization that you're going to be networking with. So we're going to talk about networking principles a little bit here. You've completed your personal SWOT analysis. You created your professional story, 60-second commercial. That's what we call it. It is your commercial. You strategically know where your target market is. Now, what do? You're like, oh my God, okay, this is what I've done. Now, what do I do? What's going to happen? So then, you work your plan. Go ahead, Bob.
So I've always believed the goal of networking is to be productive, not just popular. Everybody can like you, and that's great. And we certainly would prefer to be popular, but it's not enough. Now, but to be productive, I have a different definition of that than what you might think. Next. There it is. So in my mind, especially when you talk about networking, it's to be productive means to bring value to a relationship, to serve others, not to have them serve you, and to follow up. To bring value, you all know something, do something, can help with something. What do you bring to a relationship? And your mind should be saying, what can I do for you? You just meet somebody, how could I help you? And that goes along with the serve others. What could we do to help others? Now, keep in mind, it doesn't mean we all hold hands and sing Kumbaya around the campfire here, but we're all in this. No, I'm not going to say that because everybody says that. We're in this to help each other. And as we look to serve others, if we're all thinking that, then we're all thinking about each other first. So I think that's really important with your relationship. What can I bring? Because as you well know, as you bring, something's going to come back to you. If you are one of those people at the networking groups that used to pass out flyers to get business, I used to toss those away as soon as you gave them to me, sometimes in front of you, because that's just rude and you're not bringing any value and you're not serving me. You're just there to do for your own purposes. Finally, the follow-up. If some of you see someone you want to talk to today, you need to follow up with them. You make a contact tomorrow. You want to say, hey, Norma, great to meet you. Great to see you on the Zoom call. I'd like to talk to you. It doesn't need to be any more than that. But following up is something that people don't do enough of in life and in business. That's how we lose track of people. That's how we lose track of loved ones and how we lose track of business. And so if you bring value to a relationship, you're good at something, help someone. Serving others, that in that same line, do something for someone else. It does come back. And finally, to follow up means that you care enough that you're going to make that next step and you're going to work with somebody. And that is something that will set you apart. It'll also help build that relationship. If someone can trust you and they know that you're a follow-up person, they ask for something, you get that, I'm telling you, that will solidify that relationship. And it just shows your integrity and it shows theirs as well. So.
Right. And I just want to add to that, if I may, I agree 100% with Bob. It's how can I help you? What is it that I can do to help you reach your goal or to help you get to where you need to be or where you want to be? Again, that's why, and Bob and I both do this. We mentor and coach and help not only, college students, high school students, and other business owners. That's just our nature. How can we be of service? That is really, really, really key. It reminds me of a book called The Go Giver, and it's one of those things where you recognize and you give and you help others. And like Bob said, it will come back to you or it'll be top of mind. And also the follow-up, because the information that comes from that connection, and even if it's just, hey, I just wanted to stop by and say hi, nothing really fancy. be, it could just be just very genuine. And sometimes we do get busy, we're guilty of that, of being very, very busy. And we need to take time to do that. And I know I've been guilty of that. And it's just one of the things that the follow-up, even if it's just a one-liner or a text, say, hey, how are you doing? Hoping everything is fine, be safe, or whatever it is you want to do, to still maintain that connection and have the connection with your network. So again, if you're building your business network, again, you want to find out what your core belief is. What is it that your business, we all have, our core belief. What is that? And you need to assess that for yourself. Again, we go back into how can I help you? You're asking someone, how can you help? You initiate the introductions. And time and again, as I've been in different networking events or even at expos, and I have a table there, I'm the person who, I have my table there and I'm still working the room. Still working the room, and meeting all the other people who have tables there too. So initiate those introductions, and this, Bob and I talked about this, when it comes to the handshake. I mean, this was pre-COVID, right? Pre-COVID, it was the handshake, the eye contact, the smile, the body language, all that is really, really important. And even more so on Zoom. Okay. And Bob and I had these conversations before. And Bob, so you mentioned that to me yesterday about Zoom etiquette. You want to talk a little bit about what you said?
Oh yeah, well, obviously people have been caught doing, any number of things that they shouldn't been, or wearing stuff they shouldn't. But I would encourage you, and I know sometimes it's important to, that you've got to turn off your screen. Maybe you have to scratch. Or maybe you have to get up. I don't know, but turning off a screen, I'm guilty of it, because in staff meetings we do it because we don't want to hear everybody else blather on. So we all admit to it here, but that's internal on our staff, and any one of our guys would admit to that. But I mean, right here, if you turn off your screen, somebody can't see you. And if you're, or we have the people who never talk in a Zoom meeting, or we have the dominators, and we'll pull the plug on them, like, hey, thank you so much, goodbye. So and I mean, it's a consideration of everything, and you don't need to, they don't realize how it's counterproductive that if you go on and on about your particular in a Zoom meeting and about your product or your service, it's counterproductive. It doesn't work. Nobody likes you, and that's a first step, right? So forget being popular. We don't even like you. And so you want to be at least connected for that. Yes.
I have a question that goes along with that. So I've encountered that on a couple of meetings. How do we talk to that person and get them to kind of recognize that maybe they're monopolizing the conversation?
Well, the mute button's really good. And you can say, oh gosh, Hillary, I'm sorry. It appears that your microphone has been worn out. Let's go to Allison. I've muted him. I've also said, hey, Hillary, thank you. I mean, I think that's a great point. I do want to let others speak up on some of this stuff, and try to be polite. My first option is to be polite.
Okay.
If you're clueless, okay, Hillary, please. Let's let some others I bet others have good ideas, but probably better than yours. So let's go on or something. But I don't know. But it's.
And Hillary, he's right. If you're the host, you can turn off the camera and mute.
True. I've had to do that a couple of times.
By that, and you're too nice, Hillary, but by that time, they need to be exterminated. So I mean, they're not getting any business anyway. So what's the point of being on there? So
right. Anyway. And then I think we have another question too. Jean said she had a question for Norma.
Yes, actually, Norma and Bob, hi, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
I have a question. I have the opposite of what Hillary had. When we had in-person meetings, networking was not so much a problem. It was almost like, everyone was talking. It was great. I have found, I don't know if anyone else has noticed, over Zoom, people tend not to ask questions. They tend not to engage. And so I feel like we're losing that part of the networking. And I know, like, the tips for the chat, that's great to share that connection. Do you have any tips of maybe how to get people engaged, how they would be in person when you're on Zoom?
Well, I'll tell you, I'll just ask you. I'll just, what did I do just a little bit ago? I called out several of you, right?
Hey, you mentioned Ian, you mentioned Hillary, you mentioned Allison, you mentioned Amanda. You just engage them, bring them into the conversation. And I think of it and as a teacher, right? If you have a classroom and you have somebody there that's doodling, how are you going to get their attention? You bring them into the conversation.
Yeah, when I did high school classes for junior achievement, there was one of the teachers taught me, you go and like violate their space, like, hi there, am I bothering you? But when we're online like this, I'll pick somebody out. So I do that in a classroom. I warn them, I go, look, if you don't talk, you will talk. And I'll come over and pick on you. But I think getting them engaged, getting people engaged is for their benefit, Gene. So if you, you're going to, even if you don't know anybody, you're just going to say, hey, hey, Christina, I don't think we've ever met, and you can call them out and start doing that. By golly, I tell you, everybody will pay attention then. In fact, I noticed when I started calling people's names, like, uh-oh, he's gonna mention me. And
you're already up on his radar.
I could hear people sticking to their chairs right away. So, but you just engage them, Gene. Don't let people go into a hole. What I found also, going back to doing those high school classes, some of the best ideas come from the quietest minds. Mm-hmm. And they're sitting there and you're going, you know what? You are such smart people. Can we drag it out of you? Perhaps they're afraid. Perhaps I don't want to sound stupid, which I'm long past that now. So, call them out and ask them and say, and then reinforce that, but don't let people go into the hole and kind of have some questions and then engage them and maybe say, hey, Ashley, have you got a question for Ian there? And you two probably do the same kind of things, or just something like that, and just mix them up. I would do that if I were in a group. When I did 50 people in a group, we've kind of forced that. So I just think that, so I don't know, Norma, have you got any other suggestions on that?
Yeah, I think, and especially if it's like an internal meeting, and you're talking to people from the get-go, just say, hey, listen, we're going to have this meeting. You can ask any questions. I always tell people, there is no stupid questions or any questions you want to ask, or feel free. We want to engage. We want to, understand what's going on, and really kind of, welcome them in for their input. And I get that there's a lot of people that are shy, those introverts. I'm total extrovert, Bob's an extrovert, but the introverts, they want to sit and watch and see what happens, and then the questions come later, and maybe that's how they start, and then they start getting engaged, but a little bit at a time, to take those baby steps to start getting them to talk, in those meetings.
And even before we started this, like maybe an icebreaker, because I'm always intrigued with your background, Norma, with all your books and like your awards and everything. It's like, what do you have on your shelf back there? What's one of your favorite books? Maybe that's an icebreaker.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And what is that going to look like? So, it could be different things. But definitely you want to bring them into the conversation and engage. And I know that even when I speak to a class via Zoom, I call them out. I'll call them out by name. Hey, what did you think about this? Or what have you experienced? And then get them to engage in the process as well.
I'm really big about people that when the people withdraw, I'm really big these days. I think as I've gotten older, I want people to be more confident. I mean, at times in my career, I've not felt confident. Hey, at moments at Chapter, even today, I've not felt confident because you're in an environment that maybe isn't entirely 100% what you know or what you've learned, but helping people build confidence. And when we lead a meeting and something like this, we can do that. And you can do that, Gene. You can kind of reinforce. And I think when people feel confident in speaking up and comfortable and safe, then they're going to do it. But I think some folks we've just got to help build that. And if we're leading a meeting, I think that responsibility falls upon us to help folks build the confidence and realize that all of us are a lot better than we give ourselves credit for, and to go ahead and try it. And if you screw up, who cares? Yeah. I mean, I have books of screw ups that I wouldn't say because I don't want people to lose respect, but I mean, you just give it a try and help them build that. So that's a great question. Thanks for asking.
And I always say, it's like failing forward or learning from that. It's a learning opportunity, right? It's never, I did something wrong or I messed up. It's like, okay, I learned something from that. So, take it from that perspective and you'll get a little bit more buy-in on that. Okay. So getting back to the presentation again, always think, oh, I'm sorry.
We have I think Christina may have a question.
Oh, okay.
Oh, not so much a question. I was just going to piggyback on that. I was going to say, I am they that's very quiet, that's very shy, very reserved and waits. And so, Bob, I agree. The calling out is good. It makes you feel like you're being recognized. So the fact that I'm even speaking up right now, but I'm just saying I would welcome that, because I'm worried about being someone who talks too much or being polite and letting everyone else go first. So I appreciate the call out. Thank you.
Sure. Well, you know what? Let's all get over ourselves. If we're too quiet or we're too talkative, be self-aware and then adjust. And then
Right.
Everyone will appreciate that. So
and one thing that I did, just to share a tip that I did, I would put a sticky note on my computer, on my monitor, that if I spoke too fast, I put it speak slowly, or just introduce, don't, just those things that are trigger, because we get in our zones, right? And we're in that zone, but just those little trigger things that'll help you to remember. Again, we're all a work in progress, and we just, go with the flow. So the last one, 4, is think quality over quantity. So you can have 5,000 people on LinkedIn, 500 people in your Rolodex, if they have Rolodex, or in your emails. It doesn't matter. I said, think the quality of the relationship that you want to have versus what you want to provide. So again, I always talk about quality over quantity. It's like, it doesn't matter. You need to have those quality relationships with people. So then real here, building your business network continued. Again, cultivate your network of resources and build up your networking portfolio. What happens when you don't build your networking portfolio? Again, you get in that rut, right? Then you have to start all over again. And so if you're working your plan continuously on a day-to-day basis and practicing, then you're going to be building your networking portfolio. And what that means is these lists of connections. I know on my LinkedIn, one of my contacts that I used to work with, Frank, he calls me the walking LinkedIn, because he would say, hey, Norma, do you know this person? Oh yeah, let me connect you. Boom, boom, boom. It's done. They do their thing. I'm out of it. I'm just, Bob and I, we're just the connectors, right? And that's what we do. And, but again, we built those business relationships where we can do that. For example, when I was at the college, I did career services. I had a friend of mine call me and she goes, oh, I'm looking for somebody to fill positions. And I don't do that anymore. I said, but let me reach out to my network to see who I can send over to you. And then she says, well, I need 80 people. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not a service, a staffing service, but let me connect you to somebody who has access to 80 people. So, I connected them together and they were able to do this for this big distribution center. Am I that person? No, but I can connect people to get them to where they need to be, which is great. And that was the thing, is like, even though and I'm not in that field, it's been 2 years, maybe 3 years, but still, because they knew I did that and how I build my network, we continue to start helping. And that's what I'm saying. It's not going to go away as long as you continue to cultivate that. And that's what Bob mentioned in the beginning.
And I can tell you guys, one of the biggest blessings of this year for me is that I've been able to get a couple of people connected for jobs. Like someone called me and said, do you know this person? And one of them worked for me before. And so I was able to do that. 20 years ago, we worked together, but I was able to give her a reference that got her a job. And so, I mean, she got the job. I was the connection, right? So I've been saying for years, I don't really know anything. I just know who does, and they make me look smart. And then I get out of the way, and then they think that's smart too. So, but I'll take that reputation. But I think that the connections that we have that you build, again, they're for the benefit of others. And when that happens, just as Norma was just saying, my gosh, I don't know how you can feel any better than that when someone helps someone else that they didn't know, and now it's a real benefit to them. So again, something that comes out of this that you weren't really looking for, but you will be able to deliver as relationships continue. So now, Norma, at what point were we going to check on progress?
We can check on it now.
Let's do that. All right, everybody. Raise your hand up if you heard back from one of the connections that you reached out to earlier in this broadcast. Oh my. Oh, let's see, I don't want to sound like church, but I do see that hand. So, yay. Oh, I am wiping a small tear away of joy.
Success.
Good. On Tiara, that's a very majestic picture, Tiara. Thanks for putting that up there. I love her. All righty. So you heard back, and so did anybody. You just networked. Right. You just got your money's worth of this. Oh wait, it was free. But so those of you that heard back, let's see those hands again, higher, please. So all right, so thanks, Amy. Don't hurt yourself. So I think that that just points out that, okay, that was it. That's one way to do it, you guys, one way to engage. If you imagine if you took 30 minutes of your day and did just that, phone call, email, whatever, and just reach out. And then again, quickly, genuinely caring about others. What could I do for you? How could I help? Thank you. I will tell you, thank yous go really well. Maybe just somebody say, you know what? I was just thinking about you. You sure helped me earlier this year. Thank you so much. Or something happened today, reminded me of when you bailed me out 5 years ago. Let me just say thanks. Stuff like that really goes a long way. If you have the relationship, you just keep it up. So
Right,
anyway,
right.
back to the script, Norma. So
Back to the script. Okay. So always remember to be yourself and respect others' time. You know, and I would notice this just being at the different expos, and people would be speaking to someone. Be respectful of others' time. If you're in a networking event, you know, have your 1 to 2 minutes, but understand that there's other people that want to meet that individual or speak to them or get to know them. Because I have seen people where they're there for 20 minutes and it's like, wait a minute. Okay, you know, this is what we need to do. So be respectful of people's time, be friendly, approachable, and above all, smile. You know, because we talked about, you know, the nonverbal, you know, the language, the nonverbal language. If somebody's sitting with their arms closed and they're against the wall, are you going to approach them? Probably not. If somebody is, you know, I'm going to say this in Zoom, instead of looking at the camera and they're typing away and they're doing this and they're looking away from the camera, are they interested? Right? So think about those things. What do you want to convey, and what do you want to see? So if you're in this to network and be there, pay attention. You're going to be doing that. And as Bob said earlier, if you have to do something, answer the phone or whatever, because I know that's times when I have to do that. I'll go off camera and mute myself so that if I have to do that, I have to do that. But nobody sees me that I'm not paying attention or whatever the case may be. You get more when you, I'm sorry, did you have something to say?
Well, I was just thinking about I'll punctuate right at the end.
At the end, okay. So again,
let's see if I can remember it. So
you get more when you listen. I always tell people, you know, you get more when you listen when they're talking about, because a lot of times they're going to tell you about themselves, who they are, what they do, or their business, and then as you're listening to them, you're going to see how you can help them. And then it's not going to be as hard. For example, they say, you know, I have 2 teenagers, I'm really busy, you know, but this is what I do. And you can say, hey, you know what, based on what you said, that you're really busy, you have teenagers and you can't do this. I actually have a, you know, a food delivery program where we can make dinners for you and deliver them to your home because you're busy and so forth. So they can't say, oh, no, but because they already told you, right? They've already told you, and you're just filling that gap. So it's kind of, you know, mirroring what that is. And then if you get to feel that you're trying too hard, people, they'll think you're annoying and they'll stay away from you. They'll see you coming and they'll go the other way. You know, or if you're on the Zoom, they're not going to listen. And then when people like you, you get invited to other events and they will look for you. I don't know how many times at different networking events, when I would take my students, the person I would look for to introduce them to was Bob. I tell them, this, you need to meet Bob. And Bob would know that. I'd take my SBBC students to all the network, to the Hispanic Chamber events, or the Greater Bakersfield Chamber events, or the expos. And I would go looking for Bob because I wanted Bob to meet my students and for them to practice their handshake, their eye contact, their 60-second commercial or whatever, because I knew that he would give them the input, you know, that they needed. So you wanted to add something to that?
I was just thinking about, you know, some of these conversations are great to get into, but sometimes how do you get out of them?
Exactly.
So I would say, you know, there's times, and now when you're face to face, it's easier. You can, the classic one I always say is, you know, this has been so great, but you must excuse me, I really need to use the restroom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so now you can't go to the restroom all night, but anyway, but that's, but there, when you want to get off a call and you're locked into something and you need to, or you get out of one of those meetings where it gets a little longer, then you can say, gosh, this has been great. And now we can all say, look, I got a Zoom, I got a 3 o'clock Zoom. So thanks, bye, you know, or something like that. Right. So we get to kind of disengage a little easier, but doing it respectfully is important too. And I know that, and getting away from a conversation that quite frankly, you've had enough of, because we all do at some point in time. Just, you may think of ways, it's kind of like a spy. When they get in a room, they know how to get out. And so you know your escape route. And so if it's on Zoom, you could say, oh, look, my connection's dropped or something, right? So I will say I've done that. But there's any number of things, but just try to be respectful when you get out of a connection in some way. It just occurred to me. I see Anupa raising her hand. Yes.
Hi, thank you. First of all, if you've ever had a chance to network with Bob or Norma, I really recommend it. The first time I met Bob, it's been a few years now, and he seems like your nice uncle from, Michigan, and he talks, and you're like, God, he's the nicest guy in the world. And then you find out he's like the mayor of Bakersfield. He knows everybody. And I was like, wow, how did he do that? He was so low key. And then I thought, that is the kind of person I want to be. Like if I'm networking, I don't even want people to know that I'm networking with them. And Bob, and then you meet Norma and you're like, how is she the most awesome person I've met next to Bob in terms of just being fantastic networkers? And I say this not just to schmooze them, but because I really personally know them and admire them for their skills. But I also think, you're very genuine, and I aspire to be like you. Like sometimes I think, oh, I don't come across the same way that one of them do. So for me, it's a work in progress, but I'm really glad you're doing this because I think you're the right people to do this. So I really appreciate what you guys bring to the table. And I mean that very sincerely. The other thing I wanted to just add is when we're talking about Zoom calls, because I'm finding that I'm on these a lot, we all are. I tend to take notes a lot while I'm talking to people, and I was doing that earlier as well, but it does look like you're distracted or not paying attention. So if you are talking one-on-one, please let them know, hey, I'm just going to take some notes and jot things down. And then that kind of saves a little bit of that maybe tension. And Bob, to your point of getting out of things, sometimes what I say too is I just say, hey, I really want to be respectful of your time. I know you probably have other things to do, or you probably have other people to talk to, so I'm going to let you go, and so I kind of use the other approach. So just
let you go. Yeah, I love that one.
Yeah.
So that might be a way to approach it too. So, okay, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Anupa.
Thanks for your kind words. That's very nice of you.
Yeah, thank you. And this all comes to synergy, right? What all of the different activities that you're doing create that synergy. And then, what is synergy? The interaction of elements when combined produce a total effect that is greater than the sum of the individual elements. So if you're putting your networking, you're putting, how can I help you? You're putting all of this together. All of that's going to work together for you to create the outcome that you want. And so that's what, again, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about that. And then we want you to take, 3 takeaways from this workshop and share it with someone that you think might benefit from it, or yourself. What are your 3 takeaways? What did you learn from this? Also, is there something that maybe you want to expand on, or maybe the chamber can do a different webinar and something else that you feel, would be helpful. So we want to know that as well, and they can help you with that. We'll go to Q&A. I know we have some time left for Q&A, and then here's our contact information. We'll leave that up. Hillary, do we have any questions?
Not that I can see, but if anyone would like to go off to unmute themselves and comment or ask a question, ask away. Don't be shy.
Yeah. I'm looking. I'm looking.
We can take it.
Who are we gonna pick, Bob? Let me look.
I'm gonna compliment Christian Sanchez for being in his car. And then, then he went to screenshot, and then now he's in his office. So he listened to us in multiple locations. I was.
Thank you, Bob.
Most of people wouldn't bother. They'd turn us off when they got out of the car.
Right. Hi, Lourdes. I see Lourdes nylon on.
Jessica, that's a nice chandelier growing out of your head. And there's some great artwork you guys have. See, you can do this too. You can pick apart something. But Jordan has a great photo or painting behind him. I see Anna Lester finally showed up. I can barely see your face. So thanks for being here.
Exactly.
I hope you guys are taking advantage of all these faces and the folks that you see, and you have us, and quite frankly, Norma and I always, we don't have all the answers. We're still making this up as we go. I turned 65 earlier this month, If I can still keep learning, you guys can keep learning. I'm not even thinking of retirement unless they force me out. So it's like, what can you do? Look at the life you have ahead of you and the lives that you can influence. And we all have that opportunity. But these relationships that we build, the things that we get to do for each other, yeah, I know that we've all had challenges in our life, and we get to, Norma and I have had, we've each in our lives have had some real heartbreaks, some true tragedies, and deaths and things that have affected us. And one thing that's helped us get through those is some of those relationships with people that we didn't have them for that purpose, but folks were there for you, and you find that out. And so I think these are things we're talking about today. They go beyond business, but certainly we're here for business. But in Kern County, business is done on a personal level. That's how businesses get done. That's how I attract businesses out here, or at least I'm trying. That's how Norma takes care of students. That's how the chamber takes care of people. That's how all of you are successful in your business, because it is people. And what is more critical in 2020 than trying to do that for each other? So so we can always be reached for questions. We have access to us there. And Hillary, I mean, what else have we got here?
One thing I did want to add also, Bob, because this is the one thing that I've learned, especially, operating the Kern Women's Business Center, is not only networking with people that you want to do business with, or that, you want to be of service, but remember your community leaders, okay? The elected officials, their offices. You need to really connect with them as well, because I know, for example, the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce is very connected to Congressman McCarthy's office and different things, and they're working together to help small businesses here in Kern County. So if there's something that's coming up when it needs for assistance or understanding things, build those relationships with them as well, because again, it's how you have to be in the know of what's going on in your community. How can you help your community? How can you be of service? But also, what's going on, and what can you do to just kind of be in the know of what's going on. And I know that with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce, I know you've been doing the roundtables. Share the roundtables with people. The chamber's been asking people in the professional industry, personal industry, restaurants, retail, to join these roundtables to find out what small businesses need. And Congressman McCarthy's office is in there. The mayor is in there. So if you're wanting to network with these people at a different level, then you need to join those roundtables or anything that's going on. So you as a business or you as an individual will learn what's going on in your community as well.
Can I give a hint? Can I give one thing real quick? If you save the chat, go find all those people on LinkedIn, like them, and then find their companies, like their companies, get that group going more, just as a quick little networking thing.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah, I connect with us on LinkedIn. I don't know how many, every day I have a message on LinkedIn on who to connect with and what we're doing. Use those resources, and you'll find that, you'll have more people to connect with and build your network.
Great advice.
Hey, I got a quick question before we end. I think right now, I think a lot of business, anybody that's in business right now, has been struggling with, I think, the struggle of failure. And Bob and Norma, I'm sure you guys have had this, just kind of getting the mindset, just to kind of, I guess, end this call. I don't know if we're gonna end it here in a bit, but getting the mindset of overcoming just the struggle and I guess persevering through just any struggle that you might have in going out and getting business. And I mean, what would you give yourself as far as advice if you were, I don't know, 10 years back or looking back? What would you tell yourself at this point? I don't know.
I would
just
don't be afraid to take the risk, but don't do it stupidly. You need to do your homework, do your due diligence, get yourself as prepared as possible, but understand that you may still fail. When I was in banking, I would put the best proposals together. I knew it was the best for the customer, but for whatever reason that they would not choose me. So you know what? Fine, whatever. No, but I mean, it was, and here in Shafter, we failed. We tried to get some businesses and things that it just been, and there's some things I don't know. So I just do your homework, be prepared. Don't go in half prepared. That's a better, nicer word. Or gooder word, right, Allison? Anyway, be prepared as you can be, but understand that it isn't always going to work. I mean, we can use all those sports analogies we want about potential failure and all, but you will fail. Anybody who doesn't fail just hasn't tried enough times yet. So when you fail miserably, you go, well, that hurt. As Norma said, what did I learn? What can I do better next time? And what can I take from that? I don't think you can be successful until you've blown it a few times, and until you've learned, and then understand that some of the factors in that aren't about you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you just have to learn to accept it. Like these environmental conditions, the things that we have in the world today, they're just happening, and some of it is beyond our control. So accept it. You know, pray your way through it, go on to the next one, do the next, keep trying and don't give up. You really lose, Christian, when you just quit trying.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
So just that, I would say the same thing. What about you, Norma?
You know, and I agree. I talked about that earlier, failing forward. You might take 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, 1 step back, but you're still making progress, right? And you're going to learn from these things and get out of your comfort zone, because when you're out of your comfort zone and you fail, that means you did something right, because you got out of your comfort zone. Okay. And if you're in your comfort zone and you're in the status quo of nothing's going to change for you. But just like Bob said, if you took that risk to make that change, so what? If it didn't work, again, you found another way that it's not going to work. What else are you going to do? But the one thing I would definitely recommend is, you know, if you need to learn how to speak, you know, go to Toastmasters, find a group, a network of people. I mean, look at my professional development. I have books, you know, anything that I wanted to learn throughout the last 15 years, I got a book. You know, right. What did I learn from that? You know, all the stuff that Bob and I have been doing isn't something that we just happen overnight. It's a professional development, you know, is what we do every day, and we practice it every day. You practice it every day, you're only going to get better at it. So that's what I would recommend, Christian. And don't look at it as failure. It's not a failure. It's just another way of learning something, it doesn't work. And then get your creative juices going to see what else you can do to make that change.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for that.
And also, really quick, resources are out there. Your community resources. I know with the Greater Bakersfield Chamber of Commerce, you know, the Kern Women's Business Center has free business consulting. You know, there's SBDC, there's SCORE, there's different things that are available to you as business owners and individuals. Utilize those resources. A lot of them are free of charge or low cost. You have access to that at your fingertips.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate you guys.
Okay, thank you. Anything else, Hillary?
Any other questions, you guys, or comments? Well, you guys have Norma and Bob's contact information. So I just want to thank all of you for joining our networking webinar today. A big thanks to Norma and Bob for providing all of these helpful tips and understanding the importance of staying connected. So the Chamber is going to soon announce a virtual holiday mixer in December. So be on the lookout for that date and time, and then you can put your new skills to use. And we are just working for our members and also the community to try and provide valuable content. So if you guys have any ideas or questions for us, please reach out to me. We appreciate feedback. We'd love to hear from you. We want to know what you're interested in learning more about. So I will type my contact information here. You guys should all have it from the email. But in the meantime, stay safe and be well. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Connect with us on LinkedIn.
Bye. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.